Hi, and welcome to Fired Up. First thing, please like this page and comment on the page. It helps us expand our viewership. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense. Be sure to check out our disclaimer at the very end of each episode to understand how I put these shows together. A lot of information there. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider does not carry Fired Up, ask them to do that. Have them call Rigel and we'll take care of it. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Our audio is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. Check out KELY1230.com for a station in your part of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, you can send me an email to bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 257-1060. Again, that's 257-1060. If you would like a call back, please leave your contact information. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by news media. I always select a few for my listeners' information. Most are good shootings, some not so good, but all are educational for those of you that keep a defensive firearm at home or carry one out in public. Reminder here, individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun-knowledgeable defense attorney is always recommended. And again, stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, lawyer speak, and regional accents into American English. And the incidents are as reported, with usually the names of the participants deleted. The names of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used. First up, we're going to talk a little bit about more stuff that's happening in D.C., and I want to talk to you, this first story is about jury intimidation. As regular viewers know, I have been in court many times with years of service as a bailiff, a few dozen times testifying as an expert witness in firearm cases, as well as protecting jurors from outside influences or intimidation. The pressure exerted on the jury in the recent trial of Officer Derek Chauvin was at a level just has never been seen before. The jury was apparently doxxed, giving out their personal information, places of employment, home addresses, family information, and even when and where their children attend school. The pressure to find a guilty verdict was overwhelming. If you were a juror, what would you have done? I'm asking listeners to email your comments to me at bob@firedupmail.com. That is bob@firedupmail.com. It's on the bottom of the screen there. My favorite legal scholar, Alan Dershowitz, said he was doubtful that the Derek Chauvin guilty verdict was the product of due process or in the rule of law. Instead, he pronounced the verdict as a result of outside influence, and I have to agree. On Tuesday's edition of Spicer and Company, Dershowitz said, "I have no real confidence that this verdict, which may have been correct in some ways, but have no confidence that this verdict was produced by due process and the rule of law rather than the influence of the crowd." He said outside influence of Al Sharpton and Maxine Waters was like the sword of Damocles hanging over the jury, and they were basically saying indirectly to the jury, if you don't convict the murder charge and all the charges, cities will burn, the country will be destroyed. In addition, prior to Tuesday's guilty verdict in the Chauvin case, Congressional Representative Maxine Waters, a Democrat from California, as we all know, said at a demonstration in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, if nothing does not happen, then we know that we've got to not only stay in the street, but we're going to fight for justice. That's a direct quote. It doesn't make entire sense, but anyway. The Los Angeles Times reported, she added, we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business. At a press conference in Minneapolis, on Monday, Reverend Al Sharpton, the civil rights figure who has been conferring with the Floyd family, called George Floyd's death a lynching by knee. He added, America is on trial, according to CNN. Dershowitz previously told Newsmax TV that recent comments by Waters concerning the Chauvin trial were equivalent to putting not only a thumb but an elbow on the rules of justice. On Tuesday, Dershowitz said threats and intimidation seeped into the jury room, and the judge made a terrible mistake not sequestering the jury, so the judge himself in this case may be reversed on appeal. As most of you know, I've been involved with juries, as I said in the top of this, a lot over and over. I served on them, sequestered them, babied them, taken them out to lunch, all that stuff to keep them from being intimidated. This was an absolute travesty of justice. If I'm really looking forward to seeing some of your comments as to what you would have done if they were going to burn your house down or murder your relatives. Now, the second part of this, the second story, the actions of Derek Chauvin, wearing my other hat for a moment as a law enforcement academy instructor, the behavior of Derek Chauvin was clearly excessive force, which ultimately contributed to the death of George Floyd. The guilty verdict was proper, and I expect would have been the same if any other jury of reasonable jurors, without any outside pressure or threats, that they would have made the same decision. We're going to break here just shortly for a commercial. My latest book, The Self-Defense with Firearms and Use of Force in Nevada, is available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. It could save you your life savings if you get involved in an incident. I'll be back right after that. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, Personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. The book looks just like this. It's a little under 100 pages. You can read it in 2 hours, and hopefully you won't need the information that's in it. I would suggest getting one. I have a few hard copies left too that I can send you by mail if you would like. Send me an email about that and I'll direct you. More gun restrictions coming up from the Biden-Harris administration. The president's comments on the Chauvin verdict have been twisted into more BATF regulations that somehow universal background checks would have prevented such deaths in the minority communities. They lost me completely on the connection, but criminals criminals don't do background checks. They're criminals, right? By definition, they do not obey the law. So background checks, extended background checks, double, triple background checks are not going to prevent criminals from being criminals. Story number 4. This is from Click to Houston, a journalist named Amanda Cochran. On April 18th, 2021, reported in Pearland, Pearland, Texas. Police said a home invasion took place in the 2200 block of North Houston Avenue near East Plum Street at 10:35 in the evening. A person wielding a hammer forced his way into the back of a home in Pearland on Saturday night and attacked 2 people inside. Police say during the hammer attack, the homeowner managed to grab his own gun and shoot the intruder multiple times. Pretty straightforward here. Breaking into a home in Houston, Texas is a really bad plan. Pretty much everybody in Texas is armed, and the self-defense laws and case law really protect the innocent victims. There is extremely limited information on this incident. With all the recent media accusations of police misconduct around America at the moment, their failure to release more information is certainly understandable and probably prudent in this case. Everybody's looking to sue everybody for everything, so they're being quiet about it, and I don't blame them. We're going to break here for a brief word from some of our friends and associates. A little short commercial break. I'll be back in about a minute. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies-only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. Story number 5. The Victor Valley News Group reported April 13, 2021 in Lucerne Valley, California, a 27-year-old suspect armed with a hammer was shot by a homeowner after forcing entry into her home. This is our 2-in-a-row hammer attack segment of the show. This happened April 16, 2021 at about 9:14 a.m. I love police reports. They say at approximately 9:14 a.m. in the 36,700 block of Foothill Road. The victim reported the 27-year-old suspect forced his way into her residence through a back door. According to sheriff's officials, the suspect entered the residence wielding a hammer and threatened to kill the female victim. Fearing for her life, the female victim shot the would-be intruder. Officials say the 27-year-old walked away from the residence and was later located lying on the side of Foothill Road. The 22-year-old was airlifted to a trauma center. An update of his condition was not available at the time of this show. Officials said the female victim was not injured. The investigation continues, and anyone with information is asked to contact Deputy M. Otley, O-T-E-Y, at Victor Valley Sheriff Substation. The number is 760-522-6800. Callers can remain anonymous by contacting their hotline. It's WeTip, W-E-T-I-P. They are at 800-782-7463. Comments here. Another armed victim is able to save herself by being armed and capable of reacting smoothly under stress. Note that once again, the perp was fatally hit but walked away. When the perp falls outside, don't drag him back inside. Never alter the crime scene. That makes you look guilty of something to the prosecutors and the juries. Leave the scene alone, call 911, and if need be, hide in case the guy ain't actually dead. A lot of times they're not. Wait for the police, then react. Okay, story number 6. WABC TV, Virtual Channel 7 ABC, a journalist named Madison McGill, spelled M-A-D-Y-S-O-N. Isn't that cute? Madison McGill reported April 17, 2021 in Beech Grove, Indiana. A shoplifting suspect was shot by a licensed gun owner at the Walmart in Beech Grove Saturday afternoon. Indianapolis Metro police officer told reporters that the suspect pulled a gun on the store's security guard around 4 in the afternoon as he confronted the suspect. That's when the gun owner pulled his own gun and shot the suspect. The suspect was transported to the hospital. Officer Burris said, "We again thank both of the individuals who showed up when we needed them. Most of the time, civilians and community members call us when they need us, so it's phenomenal that when we needed the community, they were right there with us." She said a store employee had minor injuries. As for the charges, Officer Burns said that it would be up to the Marion County prosecutor, and detectives were gathering information. It turns out the security guard is also a full-time park ranger. This is where it gets complicated. The fact that the security officer is also a park ranger, presumably with law enforcement training and arrest powers, complicates the investigation quite a bit. Add to that Walmart's management, being sensitive to lawsuits, may make this one of their most complicated they've ever had. Real incidents are rarely simple, but this one may set up a world record with dozens of lawyers all pulling different directions. Can you imagine? We have Walmart security and their attorneys and this guy's law enforcement agency and the security guard company that was involved and. It's going to be absolutely nuts. We're going to have a second commercial break here with just a few short commercials, and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. Story number 7. This is from WBTV News. A journalist named Brandy Beard reports April 17, 2021, in Collettsville, North Carolina, a dog named Rocky, described as the mascot of sorts for Betsy's Old Country Store, was shot and killed by a man on March 28th. The store's owner said, and Rocky's owner, those are two different people, the store owner and the dog's owner, told WBTV News that a surveillance video of the shooting recorded when the man drove up, got out of his car, and shot the dog. The shooter took off but was later found and admitted to the dog shooting. He was charged with felony cruelty to animals and released on a $10,000 bond. The shooter then accused the dog of attacking him first before he pulled the trigger. Then a new video surfaced, according to the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office. The video appears to back up the shooter's claim. The video revealed that Rocky charged and lunged aggressively at the shooter, at which point he shot the dog. According to the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office, the owner of Betsy's Old Country Store had the video but didn't turn it over to investigators. As a result, the owner of the store has now been arrested and charged with felony obstruction of justice. He's being held under a $20,000 bond. Comments here, this is just dumb. I put that in the notes, withholding evidence from police is really stupid. Duh. What happened here is a separate felony crime in most jurisdictions. Never mislead law enforcement about an incident. You should identify yourself by name, date of birth, and perhaps even your address. You certainly can refuse to comment or demand an attorney before speaking. I usually suggest both, not speaking and waiting for an attorney. What may seem as a minor incident may not be so minor. Perhaps an errant shot of yours hit a bystander. Anyway, generally, your memory will be scrambled due to the stress. You should take the time while waiting for a lawyer to calm down. The point here is misleading the cops is an incredibly dumb move. We got one more story here I'm going to sneak in. And it'll run us a little bit over time, but hopefully you can catch it. If you look at the show on the internet, you'll catch all of it. This is from I've got W's on my mind. It's KATU, maybe I should quit while I was ahead. KATU TV2 ABC in Portland, Oregon, reported April 17, 2021 in nearby Vancouver, Washington State. Vancouver police are investigating after a man was shot on the waterfront Saturday morning. Authorities say a man was delivering newspapers in the area of the Waterfront Way around 4:30 in the early morning. He had gotten out of his vehicle to make a delivery, and when he returned, he found another man sitting in his car. The details are limited, but police say at some point the delivery person shot the person inside the vehicle. Police noted that the delivery driver has a concealed pistol license. The man did not survive the shooting, the guy sitting in his car. Vancouver police have not released his identity or the identity of the man who shot him. Comments here, the delivery driver had a concealed pistol license. That's tough to get in the Northwest. That requires a bit of training, quite a bit of training, and a thorough background investigation, or perhaps some political connections. That's just my opinion of the Northwest. In either case, the shooter here should know the rules of using deadly force. Clearly, the shooter here needs to dummy up and get an attorney on board. The investigative cops will not be anti-self-defense, but do work for administrators that are not often enthusiastic about shootings in self-defense. We'll follow up on that if we can next week. It should be interesting. In any case, we're done for today. I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. While watching any media, please click on subscribe so new shows can be sent to your phone or computer automatically each week. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. My logo merchandise, shirts and hats and whatnot are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you are ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. You can shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of firearms, or even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their outdoor facility. They provide transportation. You can contact them at info@battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you for watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin. I really appreciate your support by watching. And don't forget to send me some notes on that Coven jury thing, if you would. I'll be back next week. Have a safe future.